In this position, my opponent surprised me with a brilliant move that put me on the defensive. It's not the game that I wanted to play. I like to attack. I don't like to defend, but it's the position that I found myself in. So in this video, I have 6 things that are going to help you defend in a game of chess. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll take a look at what the move was that my opponent played that surprised me. So I had just retreated my rook here, which, by the way, interesting little bonus lesson for you before we get into the brilliant move. I just assumed that, oh, my opponent is attacking my rook with the bishop. I need to move it because rooks are better than bishops. I don't want to allow that trade. But Stockfish says, no, 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 just castle. Let him take you, because if he takes your rook, you take back this way and look at this bishop. Also, the position is totally closed off. These rooks can't get through right now. They can't do anything. And after the queen moves, you can play b4, chase this guy away, and then you have the d5 square because the knight no longer controls it. And look at this. White has to be extremely careful that they don't just get checkmated right away. And it's very difficult to actually stop that. So nice little idea there, and something to keep in mind. You don't always have to move your rooks backwards if there's going to be some very serious counterplay from the other pieces. So just something that I missed that I wanted to share with you guys. So I retreated my rook. Oops, that's not what happened. I retreated my rook. And my opponent hit me with the brilliant move, knight takes b5. And I was like, wait, what? What is going on here? I'm just going to take that. This can't be so bad for me, right? I took it. He comes in with the queen, and I actually only have one move here that keeps the advantage for black. And I didn't see it. I didn't see it. So if you guys want to pause, I haven't really gotten into any tips yet, but if you want to pause, what do you think the best move is? And we'll just talk about it briefly. All right, well, if you had a chance to look at that, the best move is rook to d7. And the reason I didn't want to do that is because I was afraid that after the queen moves, then I'm going to get pinned by the bishop. But the problem with that is if the queen moves, I'm just going to castle. And there is no bishop pin because my king is gone. So I had nothing to worry about. I was totally fine. And I needed to do that because what I played in the game was king f8. And now my king gets stuck where the rook is not helping. My king is in danger. The rook is out of the game. It's just a bad situation whenever this happens. All right. And so that's why I needed to play rook to d7. Now, the game continued. Rook takes, I took, and he played rook to c1. And at this point, I am in defensive mode. Now, this brings me to point number 1 when you're defending, is that you have to realize when you can't counterattack. See, a lot of people, they don't like to defend. They're like, well, I'll just counterattack if somebody attacks me and we'll see what happens. And I like to do that too, but sometimes you just can't do it. Sometimes you just have to realize, like, there's just no good counterattacking options in this position. That's the position that I found myself in. I mean, look at White's king. I don't even have any pieces remotely close to that king except maybe the knight, right? Also, defended, defended, defended. The queen is not defended, but I can't really take advantage of that. All of White's pieces are defended. There's just nothing for me to do. Like, if you decided, you know what, I'm going to sack this. I'm going to jump in with my knight, attacking the queen. I'm going to come in here with check, and I'm going to somehow, like, checkmate this king with my knight and my bishop. It's just not going to happen, right? It's just not a good plan. He's going to take this bishop, and it's over. You're going to lose this game. So you have to realize sometimes that defending is really the only option, right? And that's where I found myself here. I just have to defend and give myself a chance to win the game by defending well, okay? So that's what I did. Now, principle number 2 when you're defending here, before we get into the next move, is always start with your king. And always ask yourself the question, okay, how safe or how much in danger is my king? And in this position, I felt like, okay, my king is actually pretty safe at the moment. The biggest risk would be like a rook or a queen coming down to the back rank or something, but that's not going to happen immediately. I've got that covered by the bishop. You know, my bishops and my queen are doing a great job of kind of controlling all of these back rank squares. So I felt like, okay, my king is pretty safe. Nothing's really happening over here, right? So that's good, but you always start there. We're going to come back to that as we go through this game, why I say that. Always start there. That's number 2. Number 3 is you move on to the material. Now, material in chess just means your pieces, right? Like knights, bishops, queens. This is material, right? And you don't want to lose material. You usually lose the game. So when you look at this position, what is the material that I have to worry about? Well, if you guys had a chance to look at that, hopefully you said the queen and the bishop. Now, the reason that I'm choosing these over any other pieces, this guy is safe and in the corner right now, so I don't have to worry about that. This is defended. This is defended. But the queen is under attack, and the bishop is under attack as well. And if I move my queen, let's just say queen to d8, well, I could very easily lose a bishop just like that. And so that is why I identified, okay, these are the 2 pieces that I have to be focused on at this moment in the game. This is the top priority, right? And you need to know that when you're defending, because you have to understand, okay, where do I need to focus my brain power on, if you will? What do I need to think about? Well, it's the pieces that are in most danger, okay? So we've identified this is the problem. And if you look carefully, I don't have a ton of options here, right? Because I have to save my queen. I can't block, I just lose the bishop. I can't go here, I lose the bishop. I can't go here, I lose my queen. 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 I can't go here, I can't take this, right? I only really have one option, queen to b8. Now, I didn't want to play this move, but I did. And here's a little bonus tip. I didn't write this one down, but when you only have one move, try to play it as quickly as you can, even if it's kind of a painful move to play. If it's your only move, play it as quickly as you can. And you can't see the clock on here right now, but maybe I'll turn that on for you guys so you can see this here. There you go. I had 2 minutes and 12 seconds. And when I played this move, I only used 6 seconds. And that's important because I could have very easily been like, man, I really don't want to go here. I'm putting myself into a pin. Let me see if I can find a better move. And I could have spent a minute just thinking. And then I would have needed that time later in the game and I wouldn't have had it. Okay, so it's important. You only have one move. You got to play it quickly. You have to play it quickly. All right, let me go back here for a second. Turn this off. All right, so I played queen b8. And my opponent played queen b6. And this is what I was worried about because I am pinned and bishop a6 is coming next. And I'm going to lose my bishop. So what do I do? What do you guys think I should do in this position? Well, if you had a chance to look at that, the only move that I came up with was queen to a8, which is, as you can see, it's not a good move, but I didn't see what else to do. I wanted to get out of the pin, but how do I do that? I can't move here, I can't move here, and I can't move here. I just lose my queen. That seemed like the only option to me. Didn't really have time to do this because I was afraid that I was just going to lose the piece straight away. And there's also rook to c7, which is another move I was scared about, but I didn't see what to do. Now, Stockfish finds a different move, bishop to d8. So if you said bishop to d8, congratulations. The reason I didn't think about it too much, I think, was because I was afraid of the check. I was like, well, I'm just going to get checked. How does that really help me? This brings me to point number 4, in that when you're defending and you're hanging on for dear life in a game of chess, draws can be your friend. Say, what are you talking about, Nelson? Why are you talking about draws? Imagine if my opponent went here and I played bishop e7 and it just attacked them. And they just went back. Guess what? I could do it again. And we could just go back and forth and we'd have a threefold repetition, which is a draw, and the game is over, and I snuck away from a losing position, let's just say, and got a draw. That could be a good thing, right? So keep that in mind. Now, in this position, white has other options. They don't have to go to b4. They could go like to b3, and I still have to deal with the problem. This is actually a good move because it takes away the c7 square. It prevents the rook from infiltrating, which I missed. But anyway, let's keep going with the video. So I didn't play that. I played, I played queen to a8. Okay. My opponent played rook c7. Great move. And again, I have to check my king. How's my king doing? It looks okay at the moment, still pretty safe. What's the biggest problem in the position? This bishop, right? This bishop is the big problem. And I didn't see an easy move here, but there is a move. So what do you guys think I should play, or what do you think I played? You got a chance to look at that. The move is bishop to c8. And basically, this is the key takeaway, guys. Listen carefully here. This is what you want to do. When your opponent is attacking you, you want to identify the most obvious threats and then find a solution for those threats. Okay? In this position, the most obvious threat is he wants to take my bishop, right? I mean, that's obvious. It's just sitting right there. I can't move here. He just takes it. I can't move here. He just takes it. So the only move is bishop to c8. I don't have any other pieces that can defend this. I can't go here with my knight because of the pawn, and my rook is out of the game, right? The only move really is bishop to c8, at least that I saw. There was another one, but bishop d8 is also playable, but it's not really good because there's a check. And anyway, so I played bishop c8. And it's a bad move. And the reason it's bad is actually not easy to see. And this is kind of the point that I want you to take away from this video. Even if there is a good move, if your opponent doesn't see it, who cares? And that's the point when you're defending. You try to identify those obvious threats, you deal with it, and there might be a more complicated move, but if they don't see it, you're in good shape. That's exactly what happened here. Now, if you'd like to pause, what do you think the best move here was for white? Well, if you had a chance to look at that, the move that my opponent should have played, which they did not, was rook to a7. And guess what? My queen is actually trapped. My queen is actually trapped, which is funny. It's just a weird queen trap, but it's trapped. So, but it wasn't obvious, especially in a blitz game. There's a minute on the clock, right? It's not obvious, and my opponent didn't see that and played a different move. And that's going back to what I was saying. You identify the obvious threat, you deal with it, and then your opponent has to find the brilliant move to win the game. And if they don't find it, you have chances to win. Okay, let's keep going. My opponent played bishop to d2. I guess they didn't know what else to do, and they wanted to bring this guy around to try to get rid of this. Okay, what do you think I should play here? All right, well, if you had a chance to look at that, the move that I did play in the game was g5. And my point is I wanted to get my king around and bring the rook over to help out. However, this brings me to the next point, which is don't stop looking for tactics that you might have against your opponent. Okay, and there's actually this move bishop to d8, which is kind of pinning the rook to the queen, and then you're threatening to take the rook. So that's something that I didn't even consider, but I wanted to point it out to you guys because sometimes there is a move like this that just is good for you. And in this case, it's a little bit tricky because white does have queen c5 check, but now it allows you to bring your knight back, and you're defending the bishop that way, and you're bringing more pieces into the defense. I missed it, but I wanted to point out, don't forget to always be checking for tactics as well. Okay, let's keep going. So I played g5, g4, moved the knight over here, and my opponent found another brilliant move. Rook takes e7. All right, so what should we do? First of all, before I say anything, what's the problem if I take the rook? Go ahead and try to figure that out. What's the problem if I take the rook? All right, well, if you had a chance to look at that, the problem with taking the rook is I just get checkmated. The queen comes over, and I only have one move, and then the bishop comes in, and there's no way to stop checkmate. Yes, I can throw in some random pieces if I want to delay the game a little bit, but I'm still getting checkmated. Okay, let's see, bishop a5 is the fastest. Checkmate. And I saw that. Like, man, okay. But I think a lot of people in this situation would say, well, I may as well take it. The game's probably over, but whatever. And I just lost the bishop. I got to take the rook, right? No, you don't. There's almost always another option in chess. Like, almost always. Now, whether or not you see it is another question, but you have to remind yourself, there's probably something else here. Let me look, right? So, options that I could have played, king g7. Just saying, look, I'm down a piece, but at least now my king gets a little bit safer. The rook gets involved and the game goes on. I decided to play, instead, knight to f3 check. It was another option to get that knight that wasn't doing anything into the game, and it's a fork, and I win a piece. Now, my position is still totally losing, but now my opponent only has 29 seconds on the clock, and I'm prolonging the game, and I'm giving myself some chances, okay? So here we go. Got the piece, and now my opponent played another good move, queen to c7. And again, if you would like to pause and identify in the position, what is the biggest risk for me right now? What's the biggest risk? All right, well, if you had a chance to look at that, this brings me back to the second point that I mentioned, king safety. You always want to be checking for king safety. When I see this, red flags are going off in my mind of like, okay, I'm about to get checkmated. He's going to take this. Like if I just play a random move, he's going to take this and he's going to checkmate me. And even if I try to run, he's going to go here and he's going to checkmate me, right? I mean, that's what was happening in my brain. So once I identified that, I know where I need to focus, right? The biggest problem in this position is no longer my rook. It's no longer my queen. It's no longer my bishop or my knight. It's checkmate. If you get checkmated, the game is over. It doesn't matter how many pieces you have or don't have. So that's my new priority. So how do we deal with that? What do you guys think? If you had a chance to look at that, maybe you said rook h7, which is not a bad idea. You're just trying to defend. And that's a good try. The problem is there's also queen to d8. And that's why queen c7 was such a good move. There's multiple threats. This is another one. And if I go here, there's actually this really nice rook e8. And I just can't stop the checkmate. Okay. But rook h7 would have been a good try. What I played in the game instead was queen to b7. Now, why did I go here? Well, first of all, I'm losing a piece. If white wants to, they can just take it. Right? Takes, and I lose a piece, which is not good. I'm going to lose this endgame. But remember, my opponent's getting low on time. Here, I'll actually show you guys real quick. Jump back over here for a minute. My opponent had 17 seconds. So, you know, they're thinking about the checkmate. They want to checkmate me. But what I did do by this move is I stopped the checkmate. I stopped the obvious checkmate because now I just take it. Same thing if I run this way and they try to do it like this. I just take it. So even though it wasn't a great move and Stockfish says you're still totally losing, Nelson, I dealt with that immediate checkmate threat that they were trying to do, and I forced them to think about what to do. And guess what? My opponent made a mistake. So I'll leave the time on for you guys just to see how the game kind of played out. But they played queen to d8, check. And it looks like a nice move because it's checked, but then it's also going to take my queen. The problem is after king g7, I have an attack on the queen as well. And so we get this interesting dynamic. And it turns out white just has no way to do it other than to just trade. And now I'm just up a piece. Somehow, my opponent had 2 brilliant moves. You know, I was totally losing for many, many moves there. Somehow now I'm in a winning position. And how did it happen? It's because I identified those key threats and I dealt with them. Even though I wasn't playing the best moves in the position, even though there was other things that my opponent could have done, I dealt with the most obvious things and I gave myself a chance to win. Okay, so that's the takeaway. I know I've said it like, you know, over and over at this point, so hopefully you get it. But the problem is a lot of people, they don't do that, right? They don't just start at the top of the list like, okay, king safety, check for forks and pins and material problems, and let me deal with those. They just sort of like think about other stuff and they just forget about like, just fix the thing at the top of the list first and then see what happens, right? So hopefully that helps you guys on how to defend. And I did go on to win this game. You know, I was up a piece, so it wasn't that difficult, but just wanted to share that because it was really, I really felt like I was just hanging on by a thread the whole game. And I felt like that could be useful. So thank you guys, and I'll see you next time. Stay sharp, play smart, take care.